Welcome back to Books with AR, Chapter 81, Stealing Foundation. 1. It was an extremely ancient sword. An evil aura was being released by the sword. That made it so that one couldn't help but stare at it. After a long time, Wang Lin slowly awakened. His eyes lit up as he gained some understanding. 3 days later, the entire Teng Family City was covered in flowers as thousands of cultivators walked through the streets. Zhang and Wang Lin had left early in the morning and were wandering around in the city. Because Zhang needed to sell the ginseng, he left after talking to Wang Lin for a bit. Wang Lin slowly walked through the city while checking out all the stalls. Some of the stuff really interested him, but the prices were simply too high, so Wang Lin left. While he was walking, he suddenly stopped. Before him was the stall of a cultivator who had various flying swords, pieces of jade, and a thread-bound book. There were a few small words on the book. Basic Formation Research. Formation? Wang Lin rubbed his chin and picked up the book. The little book was pretty thick. There were about 50 or 60 pages in the book. The stall owner was a 30-something-year-old man. He raised his head and slowly said, 10 mid-quality spirit stones for the book. If you're not going to buy it, don't carelessly touch it. 10 mid-quality spirit stones was all that Wang Lin had at the moment. After flipping through the book for a bit longer, he saw that the stall owner was getting impatient, so he put down 10 mid-quality spirit stones and left. He checked out a few more stalls and found some wood element materials, but they were all very expensive. There was even an ironwood piece, but its price was unfathomably high. A day had passed before Wang Lin even realized it. He returned to the inn, and just as he was about to step inside, he raised his brow and stopped. Normally, at this time of day, the inn was really lively, but it was completely silent at the moment. Wang Lin spread out his divine sense, and his face suddenly changed. There was a mysterious force surrounding the inn that was preventing Wang Lin's divine sense from going in. Without a word, Wang Ling's body immediately moved backwards. He surrounded his body with the attraction technique, and his body shot back dozens of meters like a sword. "What's this? Your reaction was pretty fast." A slightly surprised voice suddenly came out as a person walked out of the inn. This person was 25 or 26 years old and wore a white robe with black vines embroidered on the cuffs. He looked at Wang Lin, who was quickly backing out. He sneered and said, "Teng Jia, Teng Yi. The two of you wait here for that kid Zhang. Destroy his cultivation, then throw him into jail while I catch this nimble brat." The moment he said these words, 2 shadows shot out and appeared next to him. The 2 shadows were 2 wrinkled-faced old men. One of them said, "My lord, these 2 people are in Teng Family City. This is against the rules. If the head asks..." The white-robed man frowned and stared at Wang Lin. He said, "If my grandpa asks, just tell the truth. Zhang got help from an outsider to kill his own teacher. How could I let such people get away?" With that, he waved his sleeves and his body flew into the air as he quickly chased after Wang Lin. The 2 old men looked at the young man before leaving, then disappeared without a trace. Wang Lin released all of his power and pushed himself to the limit to run away. Right as he saw the walls of the city, a few shadows suddenly appeared and shouted, "Teng Family City has a restriction on flying. Fellow cultivator, please stop." Without a word, Wang Lin took out a gourd. He didn't have time to worry about the secret of the spirit water getting out as he took a big gulp. Spiritual energy filled his body as his speed exploded, and he shot forward. The expression of the Teng family disciples who were blocking Wang Lin's path suddenly changed. Wang Lin charged through as he used his attraction technique to throw the disciples to the side. Like an unstoppable force, Wang Lin broke through. Because of his actions, more than 100 Teng family disciples, riding on different treasures, chased after him. Wang Lin felt very bitter in his heart. he still didn't really know exactly what was going on. He didn't know what had happened back at the inn to cause those people to be waiting for him there. If he was just a slightly slower, he would have already been caught. As for Zhang Hu, Wang Lin could only wish for the best as he was in danger himself. After leaving Teng Family City, Wang Lin kept racing south as the Teng family disciples chased behind him. Suddenly, a rainbow-colored light shot out from Teng Family City. The light passed by all the Teng family disciples and shot at Wang Lin. An almost unreal large flying sword appeared and slashed down on Wang Lin. At that moment, lightning gathered into countless balls and fell down with the sword. Wang Lin's scalp felt numb as Si-Tu-nan shouted, "This is a nascent-level treasure. Wang Lin, retract all of your divine sense. I'm going to teleport you." Blue crystal quickly spread from the crystal in Wang Lin's hand and covered his body. The moment that happened, the giant sword fell down. Sounds of the ground shattering echoed, and the balls of lightning fell, creating waves of lightning. Wang Lin's body disappeared the moment the giant sword fell. His body reappeared 300 meters away, and he immediately flew away. Si-Tu-nan's voice sounded weak as he scolded Wang Lin. "That little bastard is already at the foundation establishment stage at that young age? If you were at the foundation establishment stage, I could borrow your body and use some techniques. But right now, with only your key concentration cultivation level, no matter how much I help, I can only get rid of a mid-stage foundation establishment." Teng Li frowned, but immediately smiled. "You are the first person below core formation who has escaped from an attack from me. If it wasn't for Brother Jimo asking me to do this, I really wouldn't want to kill you." Wang Lin didn't even turn his head as he quickly escaped. His consumption of spiritual power was too great. Without any hesitation, he took out a gourd and drank a gulp as his speed rose. Teng Li's eyes became cold and said, "I want to see how many times you can teleport." With that, he pointed his finger at Wang Lin. The sky darkened and the giant sword appeared again. Welcome back to Books with AR. Chapter 82, Stealing Foundation 2. All of the lightning balls roared as the giant sword swung down. Si-Tu-nan didn't wait for Wang Lin to give him permission. He instantly teleported them again after cursing a few times. Teng Li frowned. He snorted and waved his right hand. The flying sword followed his hand and chased after Wang Lin. 2 rays of rainbow followed one after another as they flew across the sky. The Teng family's disciples chased for a while before giving up because they couldn't keep up. The more Teng Li chased, the more shocked he became. With his late-stage foundation establishment cultivation, every time he caught up to the brat would teleport away. The more Wang Lin acted like this, the more interested Teng Li became. Teleport was a nascent soul technique. Wang Lin wasn't even at the foundation establishment stage, but could use teleportation. In Teng Li's eyes, Wang Lin must own a treasure that did this. Thinking about that, he licked his lips. The urge to kill Wang Lin for that treasure became even stronger. He was very good friends with Old Man Jimo's eldest disciple, Zhang. A few days ago, he received a voice transmission aid from Zhang to kill 2 people. One of them was Zhang Hu was the disciple of the 5th disciple of Old Man Jimo. Zhang Hu got outside help to kill his teacher, and at the moment of the 5th disciple's death, Old Man Jimo detected it. That Zhang Hu didn't know that besides the poison, there was also a secret technique that Old Man Jimo used to control his disciples inside of him. By using this technique, he saw everything that occurred. In a fit of rage, he used the technique to predict where Zhang Hu would be and sent out his eldest disciple, Zhang, to find the 2. Zhang was very far away, so he sent a message to Teng Li to help him with this matter. Teng Li did a search and found that Zhang Hu was indeed inside Teng Family City, and the person with Zhang Hu must have been his accomplice. Those were the events that led up to now. Originally, he just planned on helping as a favor, but now he was determined to kill Wang Lin for the treasure that allowed him to teleport. Thinking about that, his speed increased as he chased after Wang Lin. Wang Lin drank a large gulp of spirit liquid. He then opened his mouth and spat out a ray of green light. The moment the green light appeared, the smell of blood filled the air. Soon, the green light flashed as it shot backward while Wang Lin continued to charge forward. Teng Li could clearly see what was going on. He didn't mind the green light at all and let out a sneer and pointed at the green light. A lightning ball appeared that shot toward the green light. The moment the lightning ball touched the green light, it exploded. Teng Li looked at it with a look of contempt before withdrawing his gaze. Just at that moment, a ray of green light flashed 10 meters before him. The light shot toward Teng Lin and hit his body. His clothes were instantly destroyed, revealing glittering armor. After the green light was stopped by the armor, it immediately flashed and vanished without a trace. Wang Lin secretly sighed and felt very regrettable. The green sword appeared in his hand as he continued to run away. Sweat appeared on Teng Li's forehead. What just happened was simply too dangerous. Even with his late-stage foundation establishment cultivation, if he had been hit, he would have been seriously injured. Also, the light that sword released showed that it wasn't a simple treasure. He guessed that if he was hit by it, he would have died on the spot. Teng Li touched his armor his grandfather gave him and felt he was very lucky. But his urge to kill Wang Lin had increased even more. A cold light flashed across his eyes as he muttered to himself, "Besides the treasure that can teleport, he also has that sword. Little guy, all of your treasures will belong to me." In a desert 3 days later, Wang Lin drank a gulp of spirit liquid and muttered to himself, "There isn't enough spirit liquid left. I must find a way to quickly replenish it." Si-Tu-Nun weakly said, "Kid, I can't hold out much longer. I've used teleport too much in these past 3 days and don't have much essence left." Wang Lin turned his head, and his eyes were filled with killing intent as he coldly said, "He caught up again." He touched his bag of holding, and a green sword appeared in his hand. The sword's color was dull, and there were some scratches on it. In these 3 days, Wang Lin had used the sword many times, but since Teng Li was already on guard, it was hard to launch a sneak attack. Also, Wang Lin's sword couldn't penetrate even an inch because of Teng Li's armor. After sending out the flying sword, Wang Lin spread out his divine sense and found a forest to the west. The forest was covered in a layer of fog. After pondering a little, without a word, Wang Lin flew to the west. In a blink of an eye, he arrived at the forest and descended to the ground. Wang Lin knew that he was running out of spirit liquid and Si-Tu-Nun couldn't teleport anymore, so if he stayed in the air, he would be caught for sure. It would be better to give up on flying and travel on foot in the forest. Although he didn't know why this forest was covered by fog, he found that when he spread out his divine sense, his senses became muddy, and he could only feel a dozen meters around him. Shortly after Wang Lin entered the forest, a rainbow arrived at the edge of the forest. After circling the air around the forest, Teng Li stopped at the entrance. He had used up too much spiritual energy chasing Wang Lin in the past 3 days. If he didn't have recovery pills with him, he would have already given up on the chase. But the treasures that Wang Lin possessed had him kept hooked. He wished he could immediately kill Wang Lin and take the treasures. Also, he didn't expect Wang Lin to last for so long. Even though he could use a teleportation treasure, he didn't expect it to be this hard. He thought that because Wang Lin still hadn't even reached the foundation establishment stage, he would be able to outlast Wang Lin. So he wasn't in a rush during the entire chase, and was waiting until Wang Lin ran out of spiritual energy to kill him in one blow. But he gave up this idea after the second day of chasing. Instead of slowing down, Wang Lin's speed increased as the chase went on. After observing for 3 days, Teng Li was completely shocked. He saw that Wang Lin would constantly take out a gourd, and that every time he drank from it, his speed would increase. He had seen this countless times during the 3-day chase. The urge to kill Wang Lin became even stronger. Teng Li stood outside the forest. His eyes became cold, but he was a bit nervous about the forest. He thought, "This wild jungle is very mysterious. It is constantly surrounded by a fog, and Even grandfather said to stay away from this place. Now, should I keep chasing or not? After pondering a little, Teng Li made a decision. The treasures Wang Lin possessed made Teng Li determined to make them his own. There were many ancient trees that reached the sky and were filled with leaves. The ground was covered with a half-meter thick layer of dead leaves. Countless poison insects crawled on the ground, and snakes quickly moved through the leaves. Thousand-year-old trees could be seen everywhere. Countless types of flowers filled the ground, and many different types of beasts inhabited the area. The smell formed by the rotting leaves and animals created a stench strong enough to kill. This place was covered by fog year-round. Strange trees grew tall enough to reach the sky, and beasts as powerful as Nussin soul cultivators lived here. If one was not careful, then it would be easy to lose one's life. Wang Lin spread out his divine sense as he quickly moved through the forest. Situnan quickly shouted, "Stop! Quickly stop!" Wang Lin's body stopped in an instant. Situnan sucked in a breath and slowly said, "What kind of place is this to still have blue line vines? These blue line vines are causes of disaster. A rank 2 country was wiped out by blue line vines before." "Blue line vine?" Wang Lin startled. Situnan seriously said, "Before you is a vine, and on the vine there is a blue line." "What is this? Wait, this isn't blue line vine. Strange. Wang Lin, this should be a baby blue line vine. You'd better avoid it because adult blue line vine is a nightmare for cultivators below core formation. This stuff is very sensitive to blood, and every time it devours someone, it evolves. If it manages to reach the intermediate stage, then not even spirit-forming cultivators can resist it. Also, this stuff is very sensitive to fluctuations of spiritual energy, so don't use techniques to attack it." Wang Lin looked around with a serious look in his eyes, and his gaze fell on a vine in the distance. This vine looked very normal, besides the thin blue line on it. Otherwise, it looked exactly like any other vine. Wang Lin pondered a little. He didn't listen to Situnun's warning, but walked forward without emitting any spiritual energy. He carefully pinched the vine and slowly pulled it out. After pulling it out for 3 meters, he let go and backed up. He cut his finger and flicked a drop of blood on the vine. The moment the vine was hit by the blood, it immediately began to flail as a few more blue line vines came out of the root and gathered together. After stirring for a while, they calmed down. Sweat appeared on Wang Lin's forehead. He faintly grinned and quickly left. Soon after he left, Teng Li also arrived. Teng Li had been using techniques non-stop to catch up to Wang Lin, and Teng Li didn't even bother to pay any attention to the few vines on the ground. Although his divine sense was restricted, he could clearly feel that Wang Lin was very close. He let out a sneer as he moved faster, but just as he passed some ordinary-looking vines, a change occurred. Welcome back to Books with AR. Chapter 83, Stealing Foundation 3. 2 days later, Wang Lin was next to a creek, filling his gourd with water while carefully checking his surroundings. His expression suddenly changed as he cursed, "This is never going to end." He sent out his flying sword, put away his gourd, as he jumped across the river and ran deeper into the forest. A moment later, Teng Li carefully chased after Wang Lin, not daring to use any spiritual power. He looked very pathetic. His clothes were torn and his armor had lost its luster. His right arm was limp as he chased after Wang Lin. His hair was disheveled, his face was pale, and his eyes were filled with rage. His hatred for Wang Lin had reached an unimaginable degree. He had always been treated like a genius ever since he was little, and never before had he been put into such a pathetic situation. All of this was caused by Wang Lin. The vines 2 days ago almost killed him. He never thought that such small vines could be so deadly. When the liquid the vine shot out hit his armor, it started to dissolve the plate. If it was only that, then it would be fine. He would have killed it with his flying sword. However, this vine was undying. Every time he cut the vine, it would divide into more. Even the lightning ball created by the flying sword couldn't stop the vines. Then there were sneak attacks by Wang Lin's strange flying sword. His right arm was injured by the flying sword. Finally, Teng Li had to take out his life-saving treasure given to him by his grandfather. The treasure was very powerful, but it only had one use. He had never used it once ever since he received it, but he knew that if he didn't use it now, he wouldn't be able to save his own life. In the end, under the power of the treasure, a majority of the vines were destroyed and the rest retreated back underground. Teng Li used this opportunity to finally escape. Thinking about it now, his forehead got covered in cold sweat. As for Wang Lin, he now hated him to the bones, especially the fact that Wang Lin never attacked him head-on and always sneak attacked him. With that strange flying sword Wang Lin possessed, Teng Li had to keep his flying sword floating around him at all times. He carefully checked the river. After hesitating for a bit, he drank some water from it as he was very thirsty after chasing for 5 or 6 days. The water felt very refreshing and sweet. Teng Li felt rejuvenated and was about to drink more when his heart suddenly skipped a beat. A small green sword quietly appeared before him and stabbed toward his head. Teng Li quickly retreated without hesitation as he called his own flying sword to protect him. The two flying swords collided with each other, but the green sword was clearly at a disadvantage. After a while, the green sword gained a few more scratches as it suddenly flashed and disappeared. Teng Li looked at the hair the small green sword had cut and he screamed at the top of his lungs. "Damn it! I swear that when I catch you, I'll let you experience all of the torture in the world and then refine your soul." Wang Lin was running through the jungle as his face suddenly turned red and swallowed a mouthful of blood. The green sword appeared next to him. He felt pain in his heart when he saw the new scratches. A cold light flashed across his eyes as he kept running. Late into the night 5 days later, Wang Lin and Teng Li were still running through the jungle. They had already entered into the deep part of the jungle, and on that night, Wang Lin suddenly stopped. Nan quickly said, "Brett, you noticed it too. There is a very powerful spiritual fluctuation northwest of here. Go check it out." In these past few days, he had been on his toes, using all of his knowledge to help Wang Lin avoid one danger after another. Without a word, Wang Lin changed his direction to northwest. Shortly after, he arrived at the spot of the spiritual fluctuation. The scene before him caused his pupils to contract. Under the moonlight was a giant tree that had been completely uprooted, lying on the ground. The area was clear of everything besides a dead body lying on the ground. Above his head floated a green bead as spiritual energy gathered from all directions, forming many smaller swirls. Nan was stunned and said with a surprised tone, "A green core? Didn't think there would be a green core from a rank 4 country here." Wang Lin asked, "What is a green core?" "This is the rank 4 country's demon sex special cultivation technique, the green core or the fake core. Unlike normal cores, you can have as many green cores as you wish. I remember that there was a madman from a rank 4 country who had tens of thousands of green cores. Not even spirit-forming cultivators from rank 5 countries would dare to mess with him." It has to be said that besides the ability to increase your cultivation, what makes the green core deadly is when it explodes. It is really powerful when tens of thousands of those green cores explode at once. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he suddenly asked, "How many green cores does this person before us have? Can you tell?" "Him? Only one is pretty good for him, and this person is also not a living person. He's clearly a zombie that has intelligence. He was probably a demonic cultivator from a rank 4 country that used a technique before his death to turn into a zombie." That zombie had clearly already seen Wang Lin. He didn't move, but raised his finger and flicked. A green light shot straight toward Wang Lin's forehead. Wang Lin quickly retreated and dodged the green light. The green light didn't chase, but made a circle and stopped. The green light projected a blurry image that released an unclear voice. "Leave this place, or you die." With that, the image's body moved and it disappeared. Soon, the massive amount of spiritual fluctuation disappeared without a trace, as if it was completely covered up. Wang Lin carefully backed away without even batting his eyes. After a bit, a cold light flashed across his eyes and he no longer ran away, but spread out his divine sense, waiting for Teng Li to catch him. Teng Li's flying sword circled around his body, getting rid of anything in his way. He suddenly noticed something, and he smiled. He pointed his finger forward, and his flying sword shot out. Wang Lin's shadow was within sight. Teng Li became excited as he checked his surroundings. Wang Lin's actions put him on his guard. He sneered. "How come you're not running?" Wang Ling pointed with his right finger, and the green flying sword appeared. He waved his hand, and the green sword shot out. Then he took out a piece of jade and spat out a mouthful of spiritual energy onto the jade. Suddenly, 4 golden characters appeared from the jade. Teng Li grinned. He bit his finger and flung out a drop of his blood onto his flying sword. Suddenly, the flying sword shook and it released demonic light and grew into a great sword. Countless lightning balls appeared as well, but there were clearly a lot less than before. The moment the great sword appeared, it released a cold air as Teng Li swung it down. Wang Lin's small sword teleported and arrived behind Teng Li. Right before the sword could strike, Teng Li touched his bag of holding, and a bell suddenly appeared and attached to his body. The small green sword struck the bell and waves of ripples appeared on it. While the great sword was swinging down, Wang Ling pointed his finger, and the 4 golden symbols shot toward it. Wang Ling backed up until he arrived at the place he saw the zombie. The 4 symbols all exploded after they collided with the flying sword, sending it back up. However, there were simply too many golden symbols, so after pausing in the air for a bit, the great sword continued to swing down. Crackling sounds came from the ground as the ground was clearly not able to handle the pressure. All of the giant trees in the surrounding area fell over. Just as the sword came down, Wang Lin's body was covered in a blue light, and he teleported away. Just as the sword was about to come in contact with his body, he teleported 100 meters away with a stream of blood trickling down his forehead. The great sword slammed down into the ground with a bang. Soon after, a ghostly scream appeared and a ghostly figure that smelled like a rotten corpse charged toward Teng Li. Teng Li's expression suddenly changed. He already had his suspicions, but he didn't expect such a creature to be living here. He pointed his finger forward as the lightning ball slammed into the zombie. The lightning balls were very powerful, and lightning was also the weakness of all undead. They immediately exploded when they touched the zombie. The zombie let out a scream as part of its body was blown off, revealing black bones. Teng Li sneered as he waved his left hand. Suddenly, more than 10 lightning balls appeared around the flying sword. The lightning balls charged toward the zombie, with the great sword following closely behind. Wang Lin secretly thought, "Not good!" He didn't think that the zombie would be this weak and was about to escape. The zombie also noticed that something was wrong, and in a life-and-death situation, it let out a scream and spat out a green core. The moment the green core appeared, it immediately exploded. A wave of energy expanded outward in a ring around the zombie. All of the plants in the surrounding area turned to dust, and Teng Li, who was simply too close, bit the tip of his tongue and spat blood onto the bell attached to his body. In a flash, the bell went from a half-transparent state to a more solid form. There were many ancient patterns on the bell. The moment the wave hit Teng Li, the bell shook violently. It only lasted for a few seconds before it broke. Using the time the bell bought for him, Teng Li threw out one treasure after another. As the bell broke, defensive layers went up in front of him, one after another.